Right, g'day sports fans and welcome to Cricket South Africa's Level 1 umpiring course presented to you by Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. My name is Tom Mokorosi. I am the training coordinator of Western Province Cricket Umpires Association, also known as WPCUA. My co-presenter for this course is Abdullah Steenkamp, who is the head of training for WPCUA. Welcome and good evening. It is 6 p.m. South African time. Today is the first of our 7 lectures of the course. They are all being recorded and will be posted on our YouTube page the very next morning. I will be sending out links of recordings on email as soon as they are available. However, if you have registered on our YouTube page and become a subscriber, you can put the option to be able to receive notifications whenever our YouTube videos are uploaded. So you will actually see them even before I send out the email that they have been uploaded. Moving on to meeting protocols, not just for this lecture, but for all of our first 6 lectures. The 7th lecture will work a little bit differently because it is the revision lecture. For lectures 1 to 6, all attendee microphones and cameras are deactivated during the presentation. This is to prevent any candidates speaking or sharing their screens while material is being presented. We will have a question and answer session after the presentation. We usually try to present for an hour and a half, and then the rest of the evening is open for Q&A. You can write down your question in the meeting chat box during the presentation so as not to forget your question. And please keep the questions related to the content that we're presenting in today's lecture, because otherwise we might be here all night answering questions about all sorts of weird and wonderful cricketing events. We will endeavor to cover all popular cricketing questions that have come up, especially throughout the World Cup. The Ashes series also presented a lot of great training material that we will be covering. So please be patient. We will be going through all of that. And if come the 7th lecture, there has been a question on your mind for the 6 lectures that you haven't been able to ask because we did not cover that material, then you can ask absolutely any question in the 7th lecture, which is the revision lecture. Just to make sure that you are all able to type into the chat box, let's get some interactivity going. I am from Cape Town, South Africa. I would love to know where everybody is dialing in from this evening or afternoon or night, wherever in the world you might be. So in the chat box, please type in where you are from, just so that we've got a feel of the flavor of nations represented today in our course and for the rest of the 7 lectures. So just to make sure that you are able to type into the chat box, please type in where you are from, and we will have a look at your answers before the start of the question and answer session after the presentation. When the Q&A starts, attendee microphones and cameras will be activated. Please raise your virtual hand, turn on your microphone and your camera if you wish to do so when prompted to ask your question. So we will go through the questions in the chat box first, but then we will go and give you all an opportunity to actually verbalize your questions if you wish to do so. So you have 2 options, either typing into the chat box while we present or raising your hand and asking your question live at the end of the lecture. We might go over time during our question and answer sessions. They do tend to get quite interactive, which is great. You're welcome to leave at any time. Just remember to ask your question in the chat box before you leave, and we will answer it. So you can watch it in the recording the next morning when it is uploaded into our YouTube channel. If I can request that you don't raise your hand now, we're not taking questions right now. We're taking questions after myself and Abdullah have presented this evening. Thank you. Next slide is just an introduction of the course and myself and Abdullah. We will be going through 40 laws of cricket in the next 2.5 weeks. There are 42 laws, but 41 and 42 are not examined in Cricket South Africa's level 1 exam. We will deal with law 41 and 42 in depth in level 2, which will be in May 2024, and level 3, which will be in July 2024. But we do cover the rest of the laws. What does the law book look like? I've got one right here with me. They are not for sale and not available freely to, not available for purchase to anyone. What the Marylebone Cricket Club does, they are the custodians of the law around the world. They publish and send copies of law books to all umpires associations around the country, and those are given to registered umpires within each association. I do have the law book in PDF format, which I've sent to you on a link at the bottom of each email that I've sent. If you have not received any emails from me, you don't have the course material yet, please put your email address in the chat box, and at the end of this meeting, I will forward you the course material email. It is also the link email that I sent this afternoon. At the bottom of that email, you've got all your course material links. Please note that those links do expire in a week, so please download the presentation now, sooner rather than later. And that presentation is for the entire 6 lectures. There is a separate presentation for the revision lecture, which we will distribute closer to the 7th lecture. So as mentioned, my name is Tom Mukorosi, and presenting with me on the left will be Abdullah Steenkamp. Him and I are both on the Cricket South Africa national panel of first-class umpires. Abdullah has been umpiring for 13 years. I've been umpiring for 16 years. It does not take a short time to become a professional cricket umpire. In fact, Abdullah is still got a full-time office job, and I recently only quit my full-time accounting job at the end of August when I took up a post of ICC umpire master educator for Africa. So with my umpiring income as well as my master educator income, I am able to make a living. But only really international umpires can make a full-time living out of umpiring.
Tommy Abdullah, I'm not able to see your screen.
Yes. Okay, I will unshare and I will reshare again, Abdullah. Thank you. Just bear with me, folks, while I reshare my screen. Abdullah, please confirm.
Yes, Tom, I can see your screen. Yes, confirmation, visual confirmation. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks very much, Abdullah. So my tag team partner there, Abdullah, coming to my rescue, as he always does on and off the field. He was nominated as one of the 4 Umpire of the Year nominees for Cricket South Africa. Very prestigious award. He did not win the award, but a nomination making him the top 4 ranked in terms of performance last season. So well done to Abdullah, and his law knowledge and playing conditions application, I believe, is second to none in the country. So you are in good hands, and we hope you enjoy the course that we will deliver over the next 2.5 to 3 weeks. Why I have mentioned that I am an ICC umpire master educator is because a lot of people ask the question, are our courses accredited by the International Cricket Council? And the simple answer is yes. As you know, Cricket South Africa is a full member of the International Cricket Council. So any courses that are delivered by a full member, Cricket South Africa, are accredited by the International Cricket Council. Whether or not you can start umpiring in your country using the Cricket South Africa Level 1 umpiring qualification is a valid question. All over Africa, yes, they definitely do acknowledge our qualification. In terms of the rest of the world, in India, they do recognize our qualification. However, I'm sure all of you Indians who are with us today will know that it is oversubscribed in terms of how many people want to become umpires in India. So a Cricket South Africa Level 1 qualification is recognized, but it's not enough to get you into umpiring in India in a formal capacity. You will still need to write an entrance exam with the association closest to you. And we do have the details of people you can contact in your country, whichever country you are in. Once you have qualified as a Cricket South Africa Level 1 umpire, you will forward your certificate to the contacts we give you and apply to become a member of the association closest to you, wherever you are in the world, whether it's in South Africa or the rest of Africa or anywhere else in the cricketing globe. Okay. So what does this course look like for us? Today we're going to cover the introduction as well as the spirit of cricket and laws 1 to 5. On Wednesday, we'll cover laws 6 to 11. Next week, Monday, we cover laws 12 to 17. Then the following Wednesday, 18 to 24. Monday, the 4th of December, laws 25 to 31. And then our 6th lecture is not on a Wednesday. It is on a Tuesday because on Wednesday, the 6th of December, Abdullah will be umpiring South Africa women against Bangladesh women. And that's a T20 Women's International in the evening. So we will be watching Abdullah on Wednesday, the 6th of December. I'll send you all a link for us to follow him and support him. So our Wednesday lecture for that week moves to Tuesday, the 5th of December, where we will cover laws 32 to 40. And our match preparation presentation will be presented by our poster girl for this particular course. And I would like to know from all of you if you know who the poster girl for this particular course is. So you've all seen the poster, and that's how you were able to find out about how to join this course. So any ideas, please type into the chat box who you think the poster girl is for this course, the umpire pictured on this level 1 course, that poster that has been floating around for the last few weeks. Our last lecture, Monday, the 11th of December, is a revision lecture. which Abdullah will take us through. And then I will take you all through a click-by-click demonstration of how to register, to start, and to actually answer questions for the online exam. So the online exams that Cricket South Africa have are Introduction to Umpiring as well as Level 1. We won't do the Level 1 exam, obviously, because that's what you guys will be doing from the 18th of December. So on the 11th of December, I will take you through the Introduction to Umpiring exam, and the format is exactly the same as the Level 1 exam, so you will learn exactly how to register, log in, and start answering the questions for your exam. So as you all know, the lectures are free. You don't have to pay a cent. They are available, as I've mentioned, on YouTube the day after the lecture. But exam fees are payable on or before Sunday, the 17th of December at 1800 hours, 6 p.m. And for you to be able to attempt the exam, you will need to send a proof of payment to the email address training@wpcua.co.za. And that proof of payment needs to reach me by Sunday, 17th of December at 6 p.m. South African time. Please note that I do not have access to WPCUA's bank account. I will not be able to see who has paid. The only way that I will know that somebody has paid is if they send a proof of payment to training@wpcua.co.za. And what you need to do is when you make an online electronic funds transfer, send that proof of payment to yourself and then forward it via email to training@wpcua.co.za. Because quite often what happens is if I receive a proof of payment directly from the bank, it might say John as a reference. We will have 5 Johns who have registered for the Level 1 umpiring exam, and I won't know which John has actually been paid for. Every exam candidate needs a unique email address. So the email address that you forward the proof of payment with to training@wpcua.co.za, that is the email address that will be sent the exam link email on Monday morning, the 18th of December. You may pay for more than one person at a time. When you forward the proof of payment, please write all the email addresses that have been paid for with that proof of payment. The exam is 69 true or false and multiple choice questions, and you have up to 5 attempts to achieve the pass mark of 80%. So you need 56 out of 69, a minimum. If you get 55 out of 69, unfortunately, that's 79.84%, something to that effect. That, unfortunately, does not get rounded up to 80%. That is not a pass. If you pass on your first attempt, you won't get more attempts to try and improve your mark. And what happens is you get 90 minutes for every attempt, and results are displayed immediately online. And if you pass, certificates are emailed to training@wpcua.co.za. I will endeavor to forward you your certificate as soon as I can, and I can commit to sending it to you within 24 hours of you passing. Okay? Because if you are in India and it is 10 p.m. Indian time when you pass your exam, it will be 10:30. It will be, sorry, If it's 6 a.m. in India, it will be 2:30 in the morning in South Africa. I will not be forwarding you your certificate at 2:30 in the morning. I will forward it to you as soon as I can when I wake up. Level 2 will be online starting in May 2024, and all Level 1 passes will be emailed details of the Level 2 course. You do not have to ask for it. You do not have to remind me in April 2024. You will get an email from me a week before the first lecture of Level 2. Please note, you will be getting emails from me from 2 email accounts, training@wpcua.co.za and tom.mokorosi@gmail.com. Why? Because there is a limit to the number of emails I can send from training@wpcua.co.za, as well as my Gmail account. I think it's 250 emails per day on training and 500 emails per day on Gmail. And we have a lot more candidates registered than 750. So that's why I need to split up and send from both email accounts. Right, now that we've got the logistics out the way, let's talk about umpiring and how you can become, from today to however many years it takes, become an international ICC elite panel umpire. First thing I have to tell you is that not everybody can and will become an ICC elite panel umpire. I'm sure you all know there are only 12 in the world at any given point in time. South Africa is fortunate to have 2 ICC elite panel umpires in Murray Erasmus and Adrian Holstock. So how did they get there? Let's start at the top. Today you are starting year 1 of your umpiring journey, and you are doing level 1. If and when you pass, you will be able to join Western Province Cricket Umpires Association, and from there you can umpire Western Province age group trial matches, ladies First Division A League, and men's First Division D League. Okay. In May 2024, you will be able to write your level 2. And once you pass your level 2 next season, so our seasons in Cape Town run from October to March. Next season, you will, if you have passed your level 2 and you've been doing well in your matches, you will be able to umpire in men's First Division C and B leagues, as well as the Cape Premier League age group tournaments and the Ladies Premier League, or the Women's Premier League here in Western Province. You can potentially write level 3 in July next year, but it does not guarantee you umpiring in First Division A and Premier League. Level 3 is a prerequisite to umpire in the First Division A and the Premier League, the men's, as well as umpiring in men's Cape Town Premier League. Some umpires, especially those who have played first-class cricket, are fast-tracked through the system and can end up umpiring First Division men's and Premier League within their first 2 seasons, but that is quite rare. As you can see, I've got it down here as your 3rd year of experience getting to First Division A and perhaps men's Premier League. While you are improving as a club cricket umpire within Western Province, if you have done well, we being the executive committee of WPCUA, we can nominate you to go to Cricket South Africa age group tournaments. Currently, the ones that we identify and nominate umpires to are girls under 16, boys under 16, as well as girls under 19, and the university's B week. Okay. That is when Cricket South Africa starts to track your development as an umpire. And if you do well at 1, 2, or 3 of those tournaments over 2 or 3 years, they might invite you to higher level Cricket South Africa amateur tournaments. Kaya Majola is the boys under 19 week, rural week, as well as schools T20 finals, universities A week, as well as Cubs week, which is the under 19 franchise week where Cricket South Africa selects their under 19 team, which will go to the under 19 World Cup. It was meant to be in Sri Lanka in January, with Sri Lanka now being suspended by the International Cricket Council. I'm not sure if it's still going to take place in Sri Lanka, but that's what Cubs Week is all about. It's the franchise under 19 week in South Africa. The Women's Super League is also a franchise tournament that you could be selected by Cricket South Africa to officiate in. And again, please take note of the years. This is not an overnight gig. This is potentially your 8th year of umpiring when you get to that level. Then the top amateur tournaments in the country are Club Champs, Community Cup, Academies Week, and Varsity Cup, which is a televised competition. Now, in the right-hand column, I've given some examples of umpires from Western Province Cricket Umpires Association and their progress. Wilhelm Nell this December will go to Kaya Majola Week, as well as the university's A Week. He's been umpiring for 8 years. Stian van Zyl, I'm sure you all know, former test player for South Africa, the Proteas. He took only 2 years to get to Universities Week. Why? Because the International Cricket Council is looking for former international players to become umpires, and so they asked us to fast track him. He is now playing provincial cricket again in South Africa, so his progress as an umpire has halted, but will continue once he is retired from playing. Valdo Lateghan is also a former first-class player, and he actually wrote his level 4 this past winter and is going to Community Cup. He has not yet umpired any first-class cricket, but I'm sure next season he will be doing so. So once you've come through the tournament system in South Africa, and you've done well, you might be invited by Cricket South Africa to write your national level 4 exam. And please note that this exam is by invitation only, and Cricket South Africa will only invite South African umpires. So we do not offer this course online to anybody. When a candidate is invited by Cricket South Africa to write level 4, they are flown to Johannesburg to be trained for a week before writing their exam. So level 4 is not available to the general public. Once you have passed level 4, then you will eventually be selected onto the Cricket South Africa reserve list panel, and you can umpire Division 2 provincial competitions. If you do well on the reserve list panel and there's a gap in the national first class panel, then you can be promoted to the Division 1 provincial, the national first class panel. And myself and Abdullah are on there. What type of matches do we officiate? We officiate Division 1 4-day matches, Division 1 one-day cup competition matches, Division 1 T20 competitions. I'm sure you all have heard of SA20, the new franchise competition in South Africa. We are also involved in that competition. Abdullah was in January this year, and we both have been selected for the upcoming SA20 in January 2024. We also get to umpire SA under 19 and SA women's inbound tours. As I've mentioned, Abdullah will be umpiring South Africa against Bangladesh women in December. SA emerging and SA inbound tours. I've got an appointment for SAA versus India A 27 to 30 December. Our umpires also go or used to go on exchange before COVID to New Zealand, Australia, and India. And somebody who has been on there is former first-class player Arno Jacobs. It's taken him 8 years to get to that level. So what I'm trying to show you in this last column is that everybody's umpiring journey is different. It can be short, it can be long, and not everybody gets to the highest level. We've just had 2 South African umpires promoted onto Cricket South Africa's international panel, Stephen Harris and Lubabalo Guma. Neither of them played first-class cricket. All the umpires highlighted in blue, they played first-class cricket, at least first-class cricket. So you can see that there is a bit of a bias towards players, former first-class players, in terms of umpiring progression. Bongani Jele, who hasn't played first-class cricket, has been umpiring for 24 years. He's only 37 at the moment. He started umpiring at 13 years old. He is on the ICC emerging panel, and he's going to the Under-19 World Cup in January 2024. Slightly ahead of him, currently our number 1 in South Africa, if you exclude the 2 ICC lead panel umpires, is Alauddin Palika, who has done one-day internationals outside of South Africa. Women's World Cup, Sean George has in the past officiated there, and I'm missing a famous name, Lauren Achenbach, 27-year-old female who umpired Women's World Cup final in New Zealand in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Lots of opportunities for female umpires, and the ICC are looking for more and more female umpires. And they, if they are good enough, are also fast-tracked through the system, especially when it comes to women's cricket. I need to mention that there is an age restriction in terms of progression. If you have not been invited by Cricket South Africa to at least the Kaya Majola week by the age of 42, you will not, unfortunately, progress any further. This does not mean that you cannot umpire club cricket at Premier League men's level. So that restriction is for Cricket South Africa and International Cricket Council progression. In terms of club cricket in Western Province, you can at any age still umpire men's Premier League cricket. But unfortunately, if you have not got to a elite amateur tournament for Cricket South Africa by the age of 42, Cricket South Africa will not look at you for further progress in their pipelines. Most importantly, you need to love the game, enjoy it. It's not easy. It's a lot of time away from your family, especially weekends. I've missed a lot of birthdays. I've missed a lot of weddings through my commitment to umpiring. But it is very rewarding when you get to watch the likes of AB de Villiers play 360 knock and score 100 off 60 balls. You do have the best seat in the house. And I've also made a lot of friends through cricket umpiring. So you do balance the slightly bad with the very good when it comes to your umpiring journey. So do we as Western Province Cricket Umpires Association invite umpires from around the world to umpire club cricket in Cape Town? Yes, we do. How do we do it? Here is a brief outline of our exchange program. You need to pass either Cricket South Africa's level 1, 2, or 3 umpiring exam with us. So you're already on your way by joining this lecture. Once you have passed your level 1, 2, or 3, you need to probably apply for a tourist visa for South Africa, which is a maximum 90-day stay. Book a flight to Cape Town anytime during the season, as mentioned, between October and March. Once you have booked your flight and confirmed you've got your visa, then you can contact myself and ask for a membership application to WPCUA. We will approve your membership, and then the match secretary, depending on your dates that you'll be in Cape Town for, will appoint you to matches, and the level at which you will umpire will depend on the level that you have umpired in your country. Where would you stay and how would you pay for it? It is self-funded. Best to use Airbnb and stay in the southern suburbs in Cape Town. They are listed here. And a lot of the grounds are within 5-10 kilometers of these suburbs that I have mentioned. There are very few midweek matches, and those are normally reserved for our pensioners who don't have jobs anymore. So you will only get matches most likely on Saturdays and some Sundays. And it is not money that is going to make you rich or you're going to be able to live off here in South Africa. It is basically pocket money for your trip. We pay from as little as 175 rands for an under 11 T20 match to 500 South African rands for a men's Premier League match. And you can go to Google to check the amount in your currency as an indication as to how much you will earn. A umpire from India, Daitram Ray, did the exchange program from November 2022 to end of January 2023. So umpired for 3 months here. And his experience here in Cape Town helped him to get into a umpires association, a state panel umpires association in India. So without that experience, they were not really looking at accepting his application to join his state panel umpiring experience. So very worthwhile experience if you have got the money to come over. Daitram had a day job and was able to work remotely during the week and then umpire on Saturday and Sunday. You'll be paid cash after your last match, less 500 rands for subscriptions, and also less any amounts for clothing that you have taken. Best way to travel to and from matches is to use Uber. Please note that WPCUA does not provide any visa, accommodation, or travel assistance. All of that admin you can do yourself. You need to do yourself. And if you need any help, I can give you Daitram's contact details, and he will be able to talk you through the process of applying for a visa, finding accommodation, and also traveling in and around Cape Town. So that is your opportunity to umpire in Cape Town, and as mentioned, in South Africa, we will give you the contacts for the association closest to you. So let's get started on our course. And for those of you who have gone through the PDF of the Laws of Cricket book, you will notice that even before Law 1, there is something called the spirit of cricket that is written about in the book. What on earth is the spirit of cricket? I'm sure a few of you will have heard about it during the Angelo Matthews timed out dismissal. This is taken from the MCC website. Let's see what they have to say about the spirit of cricket. Abdullah, please let me know if you cannot hear the sound.
Well, the spirit of cricket is about going out there, giving your all, 100%, fighting against the opposition, but doing it with a smile on your face and doing it with enormous respect for the beautiful game of cricket.
Bowled him. Middle stump. The way you conduct yourself on and off the field, it's about respecting the opposition, respecting the game.
You embracing the game, yes, but also how you play the game, what example you are for young kids growing up.
Big shot, and he's gone as well.
I think the spirit of cricket is about respecting the traditions of what's been before us and those who have been before us as well. And as cricketers, we've got a duty to make sure we uphold those.
You know, you let your skills go to work when you play, but you treat each other and the game itself, which has been around a lot longer than us, with respect, and you hope that you leave it in a better place than what you started with.
Playing it hard, playing it fair, and if you're representing your country and we're very, very privileged, you should cherish that.
It's obviously competitive, no professional international sport isn't, and you would never want to lose that competitiveness from any of the players because that's what makes the game as good as it is, but it's obviously a line in terms of doing it the right way and doing it the wrong way, and I think it's one of the important things when trying to, I guess, inspire people to play the sport.
Yeah, just conducting yourself in a way that probably your parents and your grandparents would want you to. I think that's probably the easiest way to describe it.
Obviously, after what happened in South Africa, you know, I know those guys really well, and I know that they're not proud of that, and they made a mistake. And unfortunately, that's something they're going to have to live with, because at the end of the day, he made a mistake, but he's still a very good person.
Everybody will make a mistake at some point in their career, but it's about repairing those mistakes in future games and learning from your mistakes.
Yeah, there's no doubt about still being competitive and still wanting to win, but yeah, certainly you can win and lose in the right manner.
But I think out of that, you know, we've thought a lot about just respecting the game and everything around the game and just putting the focus back on just playing the game.
It was a really closely fought semi-final, kind of went down to the wire, and you obviously kind of have a moment of celebration, but then your thought quite quickly turns to the opposition. It's obviously not something you think out or anything like that, it just kind of seemed like the right thing to do at that time.
We lost a test match against England, which was a cracking test match, I thought. Played between two very, very good cricket teams playing aggressively but playing in the right spirit. And after that test match, we sat in the English dressing room, as the losers do. They go through to the winners' dressing room and shared a beer with them. And for me, it was just encapsulated everything which was good about the game.
I remember the Ashes Test match in 2005.
For me, the most iconic one is the 2005 Ashes, when Freddie Flintoff obviously consoled Brett Lee.
Jones!
Then he was sitting down, and when Flintoff went to him and shake his hand, I think that's the spirit of cricket for me.
Yeah, that for me is the iconic moment. Kind of the result obviously went England's way, but he took the time to console a bloke that had put in a hell of a performance.
It'll be something like, I want to tell you, I've got great admiration for you and the way you guys played this match.
So, sure, you know, you respect for the opposition. End of the day, it's just a game of cricket, but I think that's the spirit of cricket for me.
But you actually, together, you sit down together And that's the spirit of cricket. Friendship.
So let's see what the law book has to say about the spirit of cricket. Respect is central to the spirit of cricket. Respect your captain, teammates, opponents, and the authority of the umpires. I like that one. Play hard and play fair, and accept the umpire's decision. Cricket owes much of its appeal and enjoyment to the fact that it should be played not only according to the laws, but also within the spirit of cricket. What's important here is that the major responsibility for ensuring fair play rests with the captains, but extends to all players, umpires, and especially in junior cricket, teachers, coaches, and parents. So what role do we as umpires have to play in promoting the spirit of cricket? Well, you will learn that we are responsible for applying the laws of cricket, which we will be going through in this course. The captains are mainly responsible for playing the game within the spirit of cricket. And that is where in the Angelo Matthews timed out scenario, which we will go through in Law 40, timed out, Angelo Matthews asked, in fact, the umpires asked the Bangladeshi captain Shakib Al Hassan twice if he would withdraw the appeal because it was an unsporting appeal, which was within the laws of cricket, but outside the spirit of cricket. Okay, so we can only, as umpires, recommend that players and captains play within the spirit of cricket, but we cannot force them to do so. Let's see an awesome example of the spirit of cricket coming to the fore.
Looks to hike that across the line. Andy McBride has ended up on his feet. I don't think they're going to run him out here, and that is brilliant to see. Asif Sheikh, take a bow. We speak so often about where the spirit of cricket has gone in our game, and you see it on show there, because Kamal Singh Irie has accidentally tripped up Andy McBride, and I've got goosebumps here in the commentary box, because that's a touching moment. It was accidental, but he could have run him out here, and Asif Sheikh has said no. He said he's not going to do it because of the spirit of the game. That's your nominee for the Spirit of Cricket Award for 2022 for the ICC. It's that young man, Asif Sheikh.
Massive respect for Asif there.
Here's this moment, the spirit of cricket moment. He's clearly tripped him, unintentionally albeit, and Asif Sheikh did the right thing. He had to think for a moment. It's only a split second he has. And what was lovely to see, the turn, and he went back, and Andy McBride said, thank you very much. He went over and shook his hand, and he said, you've done the right thing, and equally the same from Sandeep Lamachani. Brilliantly led. There's two young, inspirational men, Sandeep Lamachani and the man of the moment, Asif Sheikh.
So what's important in that scenario is that if they had attempted the run out and appealed, the umpires would have had to consider the appeal, whether the tripping of the player was intentional. If it was, then they would have dealt with it in a manner where they would have not given the batter out. But we all saw that it was accidental. So according to the laws of cricket, if there was an appeal, then the umpires would have had to have given the batter out, run out. But the spirit of cricket prevailed, and the wicketkeeper did not remove the bails and did not affect the run out. And so everybody was happy with the outcome because the spirit of cricket prevailed. Moving on to law 1, and I'm only going to present one law this evening, and then Abdullah is going to take over to present laws 2, 3, 4, and 5. Law 1 is the players. and it's important to note that they are the most important people in the match. Law 2 is the umpires, so we are the second most important people in the match. And I know we've got a couple of scorers on the course tonight. Law 3 is scorers, so you guys are just behind us umpires. How many players play a game of cricket? Let's see what the law says. A match is played between two sides. I'm sure you all know, each of 11 players, one of whom shall be captain. By agreement, a match may be played between sides of fewer than or more than 11 players, but quite importantly, not more than 11 players may field at any given point in time. You'll realize that this text is highlighted in lime green. Why? Because it is content that is examined in the level 1 Cricket South Africa umpiring exam. So whenever you see text in green, you know that it's something you need to note or remember because it is going to be in the exam. Okay, and in lecture 7, Abdullah is going to be going over all the slides with green text. Just to add to that point, in green, an example of a match containing more than 11 players. Quite often when you have a warm-up match, a touring side, for example, India is coming to South Africa to play 2 test matches in the end of this year and a Boxing Day and a New Year's test match. So one this year and one early next year. They might play a warm-up match before the first test match, and they will want all their batters to bat and all their bowlers to bowl. So you might find that the entire squad of, say, 15 players are involved in that warm-up match. That is within the laws of cricket. What they need to ensure is that as players go on and off the field, not more than 11 players may field at any given point in time. If during the match and for whatever reason a side is reduced to fewer than the original number of nominated players, the match shall continue as long as it is possible to do so under the laws or any agreements made before the toss. I just want to touch on that last point, any agreements made before the toss. You can either make agreements before the toss or at the toss, or you can play a match based on the playing conditions of that match or tournament. For example, in Western Province Cricket Association club cricket bylaws and playing conditions, a side needs to have a minimum of 7 players at the ground latest 30 minutes after the scheduled start of play for the match to continue. Okay, so we give them 30 minutes grace period. And if they do not have 7 players, a minimum of 7 players available and ready to play at the ground 30 minutes after the scheduled start of play, then that defaulting side forfeits the match and the non-defaulting sides is awarded the points for that particular match. Okay, so that is a playing condition for Western Province Cricket Association. And throughout the laws, we will differentiate if there is a difference between law and playing conditions. And you will find that the laws generally stick close to the playing conditions of test match cricket, which is more day cricket. But we will define any differences between what the law says and what you might see on television. I'll give you one quick example before we carry on. In Law 21, it states that if a bowler bowls a short pitched delivery and it bounces over a batter's head, that we should, as umpires, call and signal no ball. But I'm sure you've all seen on television in international cricket, whether it is a T20 match or a 50 over one-day international or a test match, when a short pitch delivery, also known as a bouncer, bounces over a batter's head, the umpires call wide. So there we have a difference between the law and the playing condition, and the playing conditions always supersede the law. But where a playing condition is silent on a specific topic, then we revert to the law. Okay. How do we, or does a team nominate their players? Text is in green, so it will be tested in the level 1 Cricket South Africa umpiring exam. Each captain shall nominate his or her players in writing to one of the umpires before the toss. Okay, on the right-hand side of this slide is what a team sheet looks like in Western Province Cricket Association. And quite importantly, no player may be changed after the nomination without the consent of the opposing captain. You do often find that a player gets injured during the warm-ups, after the toss, and after the team sheets have been exchanged. The law tells us here that, yes, if your player gets injured after the exchanging of the team sheets, you may change the team sheet and put a replacement player who will be able to bat, bowl, and take full participation in the match, but you need consent from the opposing captain. We had an incident famously in the 2005 Ashes between Australia and England, where Glenn McGrath, after the toss, the Australian fast bowler, they were playing touch footy as a warm-up, and he twisted his ankle. And there, Ricky Ponting, the captain of Australia, asked Michael Vaughan, the captain of England, if they could replace Glenn McGrath on the team sheet with Jason Gillespie, if I'm not mistaken, or Michael Kasperovich, one of the two. And Michael Vaughan allowed that. And so that replacement player was able to take full part in the match because Michael Vaughan, the opposition captain, allowed the change of the team sheet after the toss, but before the match started. Any replacement player shall be considered the same player as the nominated player he or she replaced for the purposes of the laws. A replacement player shall not bat in an innings in which the nominated player he or she is replacing has completed his or her innings. So a replacement player can also come into play after the match has started. It's very rare, but we do see it now with a concussion replacement. The concussion replacement is in playing conditions for international cricket, and there the permission needs to be given by the umpires, not the opposing captain. But the rule remains, as per law, that the replacement player shall not bat if the player that he or she is replacing has already batted and completed their innings. We also have what's called penalty time, which we'll deal with in depth in Law 24. Any unreserved penalty time, warnings or suspension that applied to the original nominated player will be inherited by his or her replacement. Let's have a look at the captain and his or her duties. And it's quite important, the relationship between the captain and the umpires throughout the match. is a theme in the law. If at any time the captain is not available, a deputy shall act on his or her behalf. If a captain is not available to nominate the players, then any person associated with that team may act as his or her deputy to do so. At any time after the nomination of players, only a nominated player can act as deputy or captain in discharging the duties and responsibilities of the captain. Okay, so up until the toss, anybody can basically act as captain, but from the toss onwards, it's got to be a nominated player that can act as captain. So that is my bit for this evening. I will chat to you all again after Abdullah has presented laws 2 to 5. Thank you very much for your attention. Over to you, Abdullah.
Thank you so much, Tom. Good evening to you and to the rest of the attendees. I'm kicking off my portion of the laws with law number 2, which covers the umpires. Throughout the laws that we will be presenting in this course, we will cover what the laws of cricket tell us how to deal with certain situations. In competitions across the world, you will find playing conditions that are related to those competitions. We will mention throughout this course about playing conditions, and sometimes playing conditions differ with the laws. But for the purpose of this particular course, we will focus on the laws of cricket, the Blue Book. So when it comes to the umpires, there's lots of duties that the umpires needs to perform, and we will go through the laws and see what those duties are. So when it comes to the appointment and the attendance of the umpires, so before the game, 2 umpires, where possible, to be appointed. And again, there's the second portion is highlighted in green, so there is an exam question based on this. So according to the laws of cricket, the umpires needs to be at the ground at least 45 minutes before scheduled start of each day's play. So if the game is supposed to start at 10 o'clock, the umpires needs to be there latest 9:15 a.m. Are you allowed to change an umpire during the game? Yes, the law tells us that there are times where an umpire can become injured or ill, or if there is exceptional circumstances. So the law allows for an umpire to be changed. Okay, but the law tells us if there is a change of umpire, the replacement umpire only to stand at the striker's end. But there is a but. Unless both captains agree that the replacement umpire can take full responsibility of an umpire, then the replacement umpire is allowed to stand at the bowler's end as well. So yes, you're allowed to change the umpire, but the replacement umpire only to stand at striker's end unless both captains agree the replacement to take full responsibility. So there are lots of things that you need to consult with the captains. The law tells us with regards to the balls to be used during the game. And the law number 4, we will discuss the balls into more detail. Hours of play, times, duration of intervals, the governing body of cricket for that particular competition, they usually set the hours of play and the times. I'll use Test cricket as an example. The International Cricket Council, they govern Test match cricket. So in Test match cricket, they set out the hours of play to be, let's say, it's a 10 o'clock start. You'll have a 2-hour session. You'll have a drinks break midway. Your lunch will be from 12 o'clock to 12:40, 40-minute lunch. You'll have another 2-hour session. Tea time will be from 14:40 till 3 o'clock. And then you'll have another 2-hour session. The point I'm just trying to make is the governing body of that particular competition will set out the hours of play and also the duration of the intervals. Also, importantly, umpires, they need to check the boundary of field of play and the allowances for boundaries. Usually today, the allowances for boundaries are 4 for boundary 4 and boundary 6. Back in the day, they used to be different, but these days it's boundary 4 or boundary 6. Also, umpires need to check if there are any obstacles within the field of play. You'll often find at school grounds where rugby or football share a ground with the cricketers. So you'll find sometimes a rugby post or football goal post being inside the field of play. What needs to happen is before the game starts, umpires need to discuss with both captains how you're going to deal if the ball should hit the post. The use of covers also needs to be discussed, and if there are any special conditions affecting the game, those also needs to be discussed, and then informing the scorers of all these agreements. Scorers plays a huge part in the game as well. So any discussions that took place between umpires and the captains, please inform the scorers as well. When it comes to fair and unfair play, who judges fair and unfair play? Law is clear that the umpires, they are the sole judges of fair and unfair play. When it comes to the fitness for play, who do you think judges whether, let's say example, the ground is fit to play? Again, the law tells us here that umpires, they are the sole judges fitness of play. And it is solely for the umpires, and they need to do this together, and they need to decide whether conditions of ground or the weather or the light mean that it would be either dangerous or unreasonable for play to take place. So there are criteria that the umpires need to take into account with regards to the conditions of ground, weather and light is whether it is dangerous or unreasonable. In the next slide, we will see what the definitions are for dangerous or unreasonable. Conditions also shall not be regarded as either dangerous or unreasonable merely because they're not ideal. Sometimes you'll find that the grass and the ball are slightly wet, but this doesn't warrant that the conditions are unreasonable or dangerous. I mentioned one of the criteria that you take into account when you do judge whether everything is fit to play is the word dangerous. So according to the laws of cricket, conditions shall be regarded as dangerous if there is actual or foreseeable risk to the safety of the players or the umpires. So when it comes to the definition of unreasonable, here the law tells us, so conditions will be unreasonable, even though it poses no risk to the safety, it would not be sensible for play to proceed. Like example, a dust storm. I had a few years ago a dust storm going over the ground at Sabi Marks Oval in Potchefstroom, South Africa. We had umpires and players at sand in their eyes. They were coughing. It was not sensible for play to proceed. We stopped play. We went off the field. It took 15 minutes for the dust storm to subside. We then went back onto the field of play. Also, law guide us when it comes to the fitness of play. So if the umpires consider that the ground is so wet or slippery where it deprives the bowler of reasonable foothold or the fielders of power of movement or the batter's ability to play their strokes or to be run between wickets. If this is the case, then the umpires shall consider that conditions are dangerous and unreasonable for play to take place. So what happens? When there's a suspension of play due to dangerous or unreasonable conditions. So law tells us that if at any time the umpires together agree that the conditions of ground, weather or light are dangerous or unreasonable, they need to immediately suspend play and not allow play to either start or to recommence. If play is in progress and the umpires do not agree on such conditions, they shall immediately suspend play. So according to the laws of cricket, and you'll often find, and I'll use an example to illustrate this point, bad light is setting in. So the one umpire think it is still, the light is still good and play can continue. His or her colleague feels that it is actually too dark and think play should be suspended. So according to the laws of cricket, the law tells us if there's no agreement between the umpires, and in this case, the one umpire feels that light is too dark and play needs to be suspended, and according to the laws, play then needs to be suspended. So now play has been suspended. So what do? So now players are off the field, umpires are off the field. The law now tells us that it's important for umpires to monitor the conditions. They need to make inspections as often as they need to. And importantly, when they do make these inspections, they together need to do it with no players around, no officials, no coaches needs to be around. And as soon as the umpires together agree that the conditions are no longer dangerous or unreasonable, they will then instruct the players that play will resume. So when it comes to the position of umpires, so where do the umpires stand on the field of play? You'll find you have your bowlers in umpire. Where does the bowlers in umpire stand? And then you have your strikers in umpire. Where do the strikers in umpire stand? The law guides us. Let's see what the law tells us. So when it comes to the bowlers in umpire, the law tells us there's no specific exactly where the bowlers in umpire needs to stand. All the law tells us the umpire needs to stand where he or she can see any act upon which a decision may be required. Also, the bowlers in umpire to stand in such a position as to not to interfere with the bowler's run-up or the striker's view. So bowlers in umpire, there's no exact position. All the law tells us you just need to stand in a position where you're comfortable and where you can make your decision. You shouldn't be standing too close, nor should you be standing too far back. So that's the bowlers in umpire. What about the strikers in umpire? Here the law tells us that the strikers in umpire to stand on the onside, on the onside of the batter. So whichever, whether it's a right-handed batter or a left-handed batter, the umpire needs to stand on the onside. So if there is a change of striker, let's say the first ball of the over, a right-handed batter is facing and then takes a single off the first ball of the over. Now for the second ball of the over, a left-handed batter is now facing. The law wants us, especially if it's a fast bowler, to move over to the other side. Sometimes for a spin bowler, we'll allow the umpire to stay on one side as to not waste time. But if it's a fast bowler, you need to move onto the onside of whatever batter is facing. There are times where the strikers and umpire can stand on the offside instead of the onside. Examples of those are the when there's a setting sun and the sun is in the umpire's eyes, or when the spinner's bowling and there's lots of close fielders around the batter and it's obstructing the umpire's view on the onside. In those instances, it is best for the strikers and umpire to stand on the onside. And when the strikers and umpire do decide to move to the offside, UC needs to inform the captain of the fielding side, the striker, and the other umpire. So do umpire change ends? So when it comes to the laws of cricket, the laws of cricket covers more day cricket. So what is more day cricket? When a side gets to have at least 2 innings. So you'll have side A bat their first innings, side B bat their first innings, side A then bat their second innings, side B their second innings. So in modern cricket, yes, umpire do change ends, and law tell us the umpires shall change ends after each side has 1 completed innings. So side A batted in their first innings and was dismissed, let's say, for 300. Side B then went in for their first innings and they were dismissed for, let's say, 250. So after side B was dismissed, so now both sides has batted for an innings. Now the umpire needs to change ends. Excuse me. So what happens if there's a disagreement and a dispute between the umpires? Law tell us that the umpires, if there is a disagreement and a dispute, the umpires then to come together, they'll discuss, make a decision, and the umpire's decision will be final. Law also allows the umpire to change his or her decision as long as that decision is made promptly. But be careful about just changing your decision. Yes, law allows it, but you can lose credibility of an umpire, and credibility of an umpire is very important. And if you're just going to start changing your decision, yes, even though the law allows for it, but all I'm saying is the law allows for it, but be careful if you want to change your decision, because you can lose credibility as an umpire. There are signals that the umpires make, and this signals is how we communicate. We as umpires communicate to the scorers. So scorers and umpires, they speak to each other all day, but they do speak non-verbally and they speak via signals. So we'll start from top left, which is the out signal. You can use either hand. It is importantly that it's a raised hand above your head. So your index finger raised above your head can either be left or right hand. When you signal boundary 4, you face the scorers and you inform the scorers that it's boundary 4. So you keep it in front of your chest, and I usually use 4 swings of my arm, and I end up with my hand in front of my chest. Why is that important? Because if you might end up with your hand stretched out wide, the scorers might think it is a no ball as well. When it's boundary 6, raised arms above your head, by open palm above your head, facing the scorers. Leg by touching your raised knee, and it's best to face the scorer's side on and not to face the scorer's front on. So if you do signal leg by to the scorers, turn to the side, and side on, signal leg by to the scorers. If you're signaling one short, by tapping your shoulder with your, I'm right-handed, so I'll put my fingers on my right-hand shoulder. If you signal wide, arms stretch out wide, as in the picture. I'm now looking at the first picture on the left, at the bottom. Dead ball is by crossing your arms in front of your belt. No ball, stretching out your arm horizontally. There's also where you cancel your decision. You often see it on TV when DRS is involved and the decision needs to be changed, where the umpire does this. There's also a new ball signal. So once a new ball is taken, you hold the new ball in your hand and you hold it up for the scorers. There are also penalty runs. There are penalty runs for the batting side and penalty runs for the fielding side. What is the difference? You signal penalty runs for the batting side by tapping your whichever hand. You can. I'm right-handed, so I'll tap my opposite side. So I'll use my right hand, tap my opposite side of my shoulder. This is, if you signal this to the scorers, they will know it's penalty runs to the batting side. And how do I remember? Tapping batting. That's how I remember how to signal penalty runs to the batting side. How do you signal penalty runs to the fielding side? All you do is you place an open arm on your opposite shoulder and you just keep it there. And that indicates to the scorers that this penalty runs to the fielding side. There's also a signal, commencement of the last hour, by pointing to your watch or to your wrist with the other hand, as in the pic. There are two new signals that was put into the laws recently. They are level 3 and level 4 conducts. A level 3 conduct is, there are two signals. Firstly, by putting out your arm horizontally and then raising and lowering it repeatedly. That's the first signal for level 3 conduct. And the second signal for level 3 conduct is by raising both hands, palms facing the scorers, but your hands need to be about shoulder height. That's why it's important when you signal boundary 6, you keep your hands above your head when you signal boundary 6. But when you signal your second signal for the level 3, your open palms facing the scorers needs to be about shoulder level. Level 4 conduct, also two signals. First signal the same, by putting your horizontal arm and then lowering it up and down. And then the second signal is raising an index finger about shoulder height. Now you can see the importance of when you do give a batter out, that your index finger needs to be above your head. That's how you give the batter out. And when your second signal for your level 4 conduct is when your index finger is about shoulder height. Importantly, the International Cricket Council, when we do make these signals, they want us to make these signals as simple as possible. They do not want theoretics or funny type of signals. When you signal, let's say, boundary 4 or boundary 6, they are looking for simple signaling of boundary 4 as well as boundary 6. I mentioned earlier that we do speak to the scorers non-verbally throughout the day. So when we do signal to the scorers, sometimes we do signal more than one signal to the scorers. Let's say there's a leg by and it went for boundary 4. You need to signal separate signals, and those signals needs to be acknowledged separately by the scorer. So you first signal the leg by, the scorers needs to acknowledge it, and then you need to signal boundary 4, and the scorers also needs to acknowledge the boundary 4. All signals to be made by the bowlers in umpire to the scorers. Scorers will not be looking at the strikers in umpire. They'll always focus on the bowlers in umpire. That's why all signals to be made by the bowlers in umpire, except for sometimes if there is a short run and it happens at the strikers end, The striker's end umpire then needs to signal short run at his or her end. But when it comes to signaling short run to the scorers, it's not for the striker's end umpire to signal to the scorers. The bowler's end umpire needs to signal short run to the scorers. When it comes to the correctness of the score, it's important for the umpires that throughout the game that they need to make sure that the scores are correct. So what we usually do is at every interval except the drinks interval and after the day's play, we need to confirm that the scorers are happy with the score. So what happens, let's say play starts at 10 o'clock, lunch is at 12 o'clock. Now we get to 12 o'clock and now we take lunch. Before we go to lunch, go to the scorers, just ask the scorers, are you happy? Does your books balance? If they say they're happy, then you can go and enjoy lunch. Similarly, at the end of the day, just pop in at the scorers, ask scorers, you're happy, scores are balancing. They say yes, you're then good to go. You can, if no, they need to find where the problem is. Speaking of scorers, when it comes to the appointment of scorers, law wants 2 scorers to be appointed. And what do scorers do? They record all runs that are scored in the game, all wickets that are taken, and the number of overs that are bowled. Ideally, 2 scorers to be appointed to every game. I know at lower league levels, not always possible, but you need to try to have 2 scorers, and the 2 scorers needs to sit next to each other. When it comes to the correctness of the scores, it's importantly, and that's why 2 scorers, needs to sit next to each other. They need to frequently check whether their books agree. And then they shall agree with the umpires at every interval and at the conclusion of the match that they are happy. We mentioned earlier about acknowledging signals. Scorers to acknowledge every signal given to them by the umpire. There will be certain balls where there are multiple signals. They need to acknowledge these multiple signals separately. When it comes to the balls of cricket, when it comes to men's cricket, when it comes to the weight and the size, when it comes to the weight, all the law tell us that the ball not to weigh less than 155.9 grams and not more than 163 grams. So anything in between, if the ball is 156 grams, 157, 160, if the weight is 161, 162, it then confers with the law. That ball is fine. Anything less than 155.9 or more than 163, that law does not confer to the laws of cricket. Similarly to the size, law tells us should not measure less than 22.4 centimeters nor more than 22.9 centimeters. Slightly different for women's cricket. There, the ball for women's cricket should not weigh less than 140 grams, no more than 151 grams, and the measurement shall not be less than 21 centimeter, no more than 22.5 centimeters. When it comes to the approval and control of balls, the governing body of cricket for a particular competition, they usually decide which balls to be used for that particular competition. I'll use an example. For Test match cricket, the International Cricket Council, who is the governing body of international cricket, they decided that for Test match cricket, there are only 3 types of balls to be used. The Kookaburra turf ball, firstly. Secondly, the SG ball. And thirdly, the Duke ball. Those are the only 3 balls to be used for Test match cricket. If I can come closer to home in South Africa, in Western Cape, South Africa, Western Province Cricket Association. They the governing body of cricket in the Western Cape. So they decided for Premier League cricket, a ball by the name of Indwe to be used. For the division slightly below, also the Indwe ball to be used. For the third division, the Protea ball to be used. So the point I'm trying to make is, governing body of cricket for that particular competition, they decide which balls to be used. Once the game has started, so law tells us that balls to be in the possession of the umpire before the toss, and that ball to remain under the control of the umpires throughout the game. Also, umpires to take possession of the ball at the fall of each wicket. As soon as a wicket falls, you ask the fielding team to give you the ball. You keep the ball until the new batter arrives. Once the team gets into position, you'll then pass the ball back to the fielding team. At the start of any interval, whether it's lunch or tea, excuse me, you also ask the fielding side to give you the ball. You will then, the umpires will keep that ball throughout the duration of the lunch interval. After lunch, when play starts, the umpires will hand the ball back to the fielding side. And if there's any interruption, also umpires to take possession of the ball. When it comes to a new ball, so at the start of each innings, the law tells us, new ball to be used at the start of each innings unless there's been a agreement before the start of the game. But usually 99% of the time, new ball to be used at the start of each innings. Law also allow the fielding captain the option to take a second new ball after 80 overs has been bowled. So the option is there for the fielding captain to take the second new ball after 80 overs. The option is there. Fielding captain does not have to exercise the option. So if you get to 80 overs, the option is there. The fielding captain tells you, umpire, yes, we want to take the new ball. You'll then take the new ball. If the fielding captain doesn't want to exercise the option to take the new ball, no issue. Fielding captain doesn't have to take the new ball. So anytime after 80 overs has been bowled, fielding captain can exercise the option to take the new ball. So if after, let's say, 83 overs, only then the fielding captain wants to take the new ball, no problem. You'll allow the captain to take the new ball. So now after the fielding captain has instructed the umpires, yes, we want to take the new ball after 80 overs, excuse me, you will then indicate to the batters, new ball taken, and you'll also inform the scorers that the new ball has been taken. So what happens if a ball becomes lost or becomes unfit for play? It can happen that the ball, let's say, gets hit out of the stadium, the ball is lost, or sometimes the ball becomes unfit. Let's say the seam breaks or the ball is now out of shape. What happens? The law tells us that if either a ball cannot be found, let's say hit out of the stadium, cannot be found anymore, or has now become unfit for play and usually, let's say, becomes out of shape, law allows for that ball to be changed. How do the umpires decide on the replacement ball? The umpires decide on the replacement ball, and again, this is solely for the umpires alone to decide on the replacement ball. The fielding captain has no say in this, nor does the two batters at the wicket have any say on the replacement ball. Umpires alone to decide. You will find the fielding captain trying to put in a comment or two. You can tell the fielding captain, just give us a moment, let us choose the ball. Once we've chosen a ball, we will then give it to you. Similarly to the batsman. So the ball is now become unfit. How do you decide on the replacement ball? The criteria that you need to take into account is this ball that you're now going to choose, the way and tear on that ball need to be very similar to the wear and tear that the ball that needed to replace be. The wear and tear needs to be very similar. You will hardly find an exact same ball with the exact same wear and tear. You need to find the closest ball in the replacement box of balls. So let's say the ball becomes out of shape, and a great thing to have as part of your equipment, and we will go through this in lecture 6, where we go through our match preparation. Part of your equipment is to have a ball gauge. You will then put the ball through the ball gauge. If it goes through the ball gauge, it is then still in shape. If it doesn't go through the ball gauge, then it's out of shape. So let's say it doesn't go through the ball gauge. The ball is now out of shape. So how do you choose the replacement ball? You now have your spare box of balls. You now have your ball that's out of shape. You now need to find in the replacement box a ball that is very similar, that has similar wear and tear to the ball that is now unfit for play. 9 out of 10 times you will not find an exact wear and tear. So you need to find from the box of replacement ball the ball that is the most similar, that is the closest. That is how you decide on the replacement ball. And again, importantly, fielding captain and batters have no say. Umpires alone to decide on the replacement ball. The last law that I'm covering for the evening is the bat. When it comes to the bat consists of 2 parts. You have the handle, and then there's the blade. So when it comes to the handle, the law tells us that the handle is to be made principally of either cane and or wood. The part of the handle that is wholly outside the blade, that as per the law is defined as the upper portion. The law also allows for the handle or the upper portion to be covered with a grip so that the batter can grip the ball much easier. So the law allows for a grip. That is now when it comes to the handle portion. When it comes to the blade portion, the blade comprises of the whole of the bat except the handle. And here the law tells us the blade only to consist of wood. No other material is allowed for the blade except of wood. Many years ago, in December 1979, and this law was actually changed in January 1980, because prior to January 1980, there was no limitations on the or no law saying with regards to the blade. There was no law saying it has to be wood. So what Dennis Lilly did was, Dennis Lilly came to bat with an aluminium bat. At the time, still legal, but after that, in Jan 1980, the law changed, and then they now put in the law that the blade can only be of wood. When it comes to damage of the ball, for any part of the bat, the hardness of the materials and the surface texture thereof shall not be of such that either could cause unacceptable damage to the bat. The law actually defines unacceptable damage. It tells us unacceptable damage is any change that is greater than the normal wear and tear that the ball is causing, striking the wooden surface of the blade. When it comes to contact with the ball, so when is there contact between the ball? The law tells us that there's contact with the ball if the ball makes contact with any part of the bat. And when I say any part of the bat, it is the whole bat, the handle, the blade. So on some bats, you'll find a toe guard that is part of the bat. So the whole of the bat. If the ball makes contact with the bat, with the whole of the bat, anywhere on the bat, ball has made contact, and if makes contact with the bat and the fielder, it goes to a fielder and its catch is fairly taken, the batsman can be given out. Also, contact with the ball, the batter's hand holding the bat. Any part of the glove worn on the batter's hand holding the bat. Important part here is batter's hand holding the bat and any of glove worn on the batter's hand holding the bat. So if the ball makes contact with the glove holding the bat or the hand holding the bat, and it then goes to first slip or the keeper and the catch gets taken cleanly, the batter can be given out caught. But it must be the hand holding the bat or the glove worn on the hand holding the bat. If the ball makes contact with a glove and that glove is not on the bat, then the batsman should be given not out. If the ball, let's say, makes contact with the glove and the hand is not on the bat and it then ricochets, let's say, to first slip and it gets clean, the catch gets cleanly taken, that should be given not out. I mentioned earlier any additional materials like a toe guard. If the ball makes contact with it, the law now tells us this shall be regarded as the ball striking or touching the bat. And if it goes to any fielder and the catch is cleanly taken, batsman can be given out caught. Are there any bat size limit? Can the bat be any size? When it comes to the length of the bat, the law tells us that the bat not to be more than 96.5 centimeters. That's when it comes to the length, all it says is not more than 96.52 centimeters. Yes, it can be smaller, but not more than 96.5 centimeters. So when it comes to the blade of the bat, the width for many years, there was only a limitation on the dimension. The law said to us that when it comes to the width, cannot be more than 10.8 centimeters. Recently, the law added depth, where it says cannot be deeper than 6.7 centimeters, and the edges not to be more than 4 centimeters. So these are, when it comes to the dimensions of the blade, the width 10.8 centimeters, depth 6.7, and edges 4 centimeters. We do have a ball gauge, and I do have a picture of a ball gauge. This is Sean George holding a ball gauge. So at international level, what usually happens before the game starts, what the fourth umpire will do is there will be kit inspections. The fourth umpire will go check the pads, the gloves, and the bats. The fourth umpire will go with the bat gauge, and will then put the bats through the bat gauge. If the bat goes through the bat gauge, that bat is legal. If it does not go through the bat gauge, then the bat is not legal. Tom, these are the laws that I'm covering tonight. I'm handing now back over to you, and we can then open the floor for Q&A. Over to you, Tom.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. We have gone an hour and 43 minutes presenting today. Hopefully the candidates are still alive, awake, and ready for an interactive question and answer session. Thank you very much for your engagement, everybody. I see quite a few questions in the chat box. I'm going to be reading them off my phone because on my computer, the chat box has disappeared. So bear with me while I do that. We will go through all the questions or comments on the chat box first, and then if there are still any further questions, then we will open the floor for raising of hands, and there you'll be able to unmute your microphone and address Abdullah or myself. You will have noticed that you are now able to unmute your microphone and activate your camera. So those of you wishing to put your cameras on, you're welcome to do so, but please stay muted until we give you the floor to ask a question. So the first thing I asked was for where everybody's from. It's great to see a full house tonight. I saw over 140 candidates at one point. We have people from the UK, India, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, USA, Singapore, Sierra Leone, Tanzania, Ghana, UAE, Zambia. And in South Africa, we've got candidates from the Free State, Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, Limpopo, Western Cape, and Northwest. So we are covering most corners of the cricketing world this evening. Thank you once again for joining us. Then I asked if you have not received any emails from me with course material for you to put your email addresses, and I have subsequently emailed all of those people who have done so. If you still haven't got anything from me, now is your last chance to add your email address in your in the chat box. Please just check first in your inbox and your spam or junk folder if you have received anything from me, because some emails do sometimes go to junk or spam. Right, going into some more comments and questions. Miss K asks, is this course recognized by Pakistan Cricket Board? Very good question, Miss K. To be honest with you, we've got contacts everywhere around the umpiring world, except for Pakistan. Murray Erasmus on the ICC elite panel of umpires has got Alim Dar's number, and I'm sure also has Ashan Raza's number. And I've tried to contact Alim Dar with the number that Murray Erasmus gave to me, but he didn't respond to me. Obviously not important enough in his world. So as things stand, we unfortunately don't have contact with Pakistan umpiring. We will keep trying. I'll try Ashan Raza, and hopefully they can accredit or at least recognize Cricket South Africa's level 1 umpiring course in Pakistan. Just to note that Murray Erasmus and Adrian Holstock, both ICC elite panel umpires, they've got Cricket South Africa level 1, Cricket South Africa level 2, Cricket South Africa level 3 umpiring qualifications, and level 4. So if the two best umpires in South Africa, one of whom has won Umpire of the Year with the ICC for 2 years, if they've got Cricket South Africa umpiring qualifications, I'm sure those qualifications should be recognized anywhere where cricket is played. But of course, there's always politics involved in these things. Then I asked if any of you know who the poster girl is for our course. I got 2 correct answers from Maurice and Zintle. It is, of course, Karen Cluster. Karen Cluster is just been promoted onto the Cricket South Africa's reserve list panel. So she made her first class debut 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. She also is on the ICC emerging panel or development panel, and she did officiate in the ICC Women's Under-19 World Cup here in South Africa in January 2023. So a young female umpire on the up, and I hope she's an inspiration for all you female candidates attending this course. As mentioned, she will be presenting match preparation for us in lecture 6 on, I think it's Tuesday, December the 4th. She will be officiating along with Abdullah that South Africa Women versus Bangladesh Women series in December. So they will be presenting from probably the same meeting room that evening. Right. Salim also got Karen cluster. Well done. Thanks for your input. Shamil asks, do we have to attempt all the days of the exam dates? So the exam window period runs from Monday, the 18th of December at 8 a.m. I will send exam link emails to all of those candidates who have paid and sent proof of payment to training@wpcua.co.za on Monday morning, the 18th of December. You will get the exam link email. You will have had a demonstration of how to register and start answering the exam. So you will view that before you register, log in, and start answering the exam. And you will have up to 5 attempts at any time between Monday, the 18th of December at 8 a.m. and Thursday, 7:59 a.m. South African time, the 28th of December. So the exam window period is 10 days, and you can attempt the exam in the comfort of your home, office, school, or anywhere with an internet connection. And please, it's best if you use a laptop or a tablet. Yes, it can be done on a phone, but it is more difficult because you struggle to see the writing. The writing of the text of the exam is quite small on a phone screen, but it is possible to do it on a phone. Next question. Emma asks, is that for men and women? I think she's referring to the age limit of 42, where Cricket South Africa, if you have not reached the elite amateur tournaments at that age, will not progress you any further. Emma, that is currently for male umpires. For female umpires, they do make exception if they see potential in you, because a lot of females only started umpiring recently, but could be already quite elderly, but have potential, so they won't hold you back if you're a female umpire older than 42 years old, but you probably need to be better than the younger umpires for your progress to continue. I hope that answers your question, Emma. If it doesn't, you can raise your hand and we'll take questions from raised hands later. I see Zikamai also mentioned that he is from Lesotho, which is my home country. So thanks for joining us from the Mountain Kingdom. Rohan asks, can one take the level 1 exam without attending these training sessions? Yes, Rohan. These lectures are all, none of them are compulsory. However, I think you will gain a lot from attending these sessions and you can ask questions. But of course, you can self-study entirely by watching the recordings on YouTube. And as mentioned, the recordings will be made available and links sent out the next morning after each lecture. They might be uploaded onto YouTube already the night of the lecture, a couple of hours after the lecture ends. So if you've subscribed, go into YouTube and just say notify me when Tom81 CPT loads a new video. Then you won't even have to wait for my email. You can watch the recording as soon as it's uploaded. Sai asks if I can explain the initial session again about the visa portion. So that is to do with umpires from outside of South Africa wanting to come and umpire in South Africa. Most countries' citizens visiting South Africa need a visa. So what you will do is you will go to your South African embassy or consulate in your country and apply for a tourist visa. Okay. Please Google that process. It is not something that we assist with. It is something that you need to do on your own. Matthew asks, how is it determined if you have umpired well in a game at level 1? Does somebody watch your games? Very good question, Matthew. And the answer is yes. We have about 120 active umpires or active members in Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. And quite a few of those are assessors. Let's say there is 8 assessors in total, and those assessors are all former umpires, so they know what to look for in an umpire's performance, and they go around fields watching umpires perform on a Saturday and send myself and Abdullah a report on the umpires that they've watched, and that helps us to promote umpires up and down the leagues. Every club match also, umpires are judged by the captains of both teams. The captains fill out a captain's report on the umpire's performance, and they submit it via email. And we also use the captain's reports and the comments that they give to help with training and improving umpires' performances, and also promoting them up the leagues. Nitin asks if we will be looking at the appendices in the law book. The answer there is no. That is up to you to go and have an extra look at in your own time. The creases that we will be going through on Wednesday, those are examined in the level 1 exam. So that is one appendix that we do look at in this particular course. Stephen asks, what is my view on running out of the non-striker by the bowler, often referred to as a mankad, versus the spirit of the game? Always a point of discussion, Stephen, and we will go into detail in the run-out law. So what's important there is that this incident, running out of the non-striker, used to be in Law 41, unfair play, but it is now been moved to Law 38, the run-out. That means it is a normal mode of dismissal and is not seen as unfair play. It does not require a warning from the bowler because the batter just needs to watch the bowler release the ball, and then only should he or she leave his or her crease. So yes, it still comes across as contentious and unsporting, but if you think about it, it is actually unsporting of the batter to leave their crease early. So the bowler is well within his or her rights to run out the non-striker if they leave the crease before the ball is delivered. Nitin asks again, is there any limit that any number of players required to start a match or should be available to conduct a toss? I think this question was asked before I answered it in my presentation. At Western Province Cricket Association, we require a minimum of 7 players to be present before the game may start. 7 players on either side. Okay, and that is the question asked by Matthew. Next question is from Sundaram. what if Michael Vaughan had not allowed a replacement for Glenn McGrath when he twisted his ankle in the warm-up? Then, Sundaram, the umpires would have allowed a substitute to replace Glenn McGrath, and a substitute, we will learn in Law 24, is not allowed to bat or bowl. A substitute may only field and keep wicket in a match. Okay, so they effectively would have only played with 10 batters and a maximum of 10 bowlers. That substitute would only have been allowed to field. And back then, in 2005, substitutes were not allowed to keep wicket. But since 2017, substitutes are now allowed to keep wicket. Right, moving through the chat box. Abdullah was referring to the leg side, or rather the onside. So I just put a picture of fielding positions, which also shows which is the onside and which is the offside of a field. And just note that the onside is also referred to as the leg side in terms of the terminology used in today's lecture. Nitin asks, Nitin has got a lot of questions. Very good. What is conduct 3 and conduct 4, and when and why is it used? So Nitin, conduct level 1 is for a minor contravention of the laws. For example, dissent directed at an umpire's decision. And that is normally just dealt with a report, a level 1 report. If you have serious dissent of an umpire's decision, say, for example, the batter, when given out leg before wicket, walks past the umpire and says, that is a effing rubbish decision. Umpire, you are useless. That would be considered a level 2 conduct offense, and that would also be reported. And the candidate, depending on the code of conduct under which that competition is being played, will risk being suspended for 1, 2, 3, or maybe even 4 matches. Conduct level 3 would be if the batter, when walking past the umpire, threatens to physically assault the umpire. So raises his bat and maybe pretends to hit the umpire with the bat, but does not hit the umpire with the bat. That would be considered a level 3 conduct offense, and that would be dealt with a serious punishment. According to the laws, the player would be suspended for 1/10 of the match. So if it is a 50 over match, then that player would not be allowed to field for 10 overs. Sorry, it's 1/5 of the match. And then conduct level 4 would be if the player actually physically abused the umpire and hit the umpire with a bat, and that player, according to the laws, would be dismissed for the rest of that match and would not be able to take the field when his team comes to field. And there would not be a replacement allowed or a substitute allowed for that player who has been suspended for the rest of the match. So those are level 1, 2, 3, and 4 conducts in a nutshell. Isaac asks, who signals no ball for a ball that has not pitched above waist height? That is going to be covered in Law 21. In fact, it's actually covered in Law 41, which we are not going to go through, but you can find it in our presentation. The strikers and umpire, who normally stands at square leg, is the umpire who is in the best position to see the trajectory of the ball and where it passes with the striker standing upright at the crease. So have a look at that presentation in under Law 41. There's an example of Virat Kohli batting against Pakistan in the T20 World Cup in Australia in 2022, and it was the last over of that match. Very entertaining match, and that last over was full of incident. And Murray Rasmus was the umpire at striker's end, and he actually waited for the ball to go over the boundary for 6 before signaling no ball. Why? Because if the catch had been taken, then they would have gone upstairs. They would have gone upstairs for reviewing whether or not that ball was over waist height or not. Enessi, I see your question. I don't know if I'm audible to everyone else, but nobody else seems to be complaining. I think it might be on your side. Abdullah, are you still there? Can you still hear me?
Yes, Tom, I can hear you loud and clear.
Lovely. Thank you very much. So I'm going to give this next question to you, Abdullah. It comes from Nitin again. I think Nitin is on the ICC elite panel of umpires, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he
Nitin
is.
Nitin asks, can the batting side demand a new ball at the start of their innings?
Yes, Nitin. The law tells us that the batting captain may demand a new ball at the start of the innings. So yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Dula. I've got a nice replacement player question from George here. Also for you, please, Abdullah. During the lunch break, player A, who is not out batting, accidentally falls and gets injured. The captain requests the opposition captain for a replacement for player A. The opposition captain approves player B to replace player A. Can player B bat in the same innings? If yes, how is it scored? If the side is all out, does it mean it had 12 batters? Did you get that?
Yeah, thank you so much for. Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, got it. Thanks. Thanks for your question. And I'm going to answer this question as per the laws of cricket, because playing conditions do handle a replacement player slightly different. And I'm not going to go into detail what the current playing ICC playing conditions are, but according to the laws of cricket. So the question says, during the lunch break, so player A falls, gets injured, captain asks player to be replaced. Opposing captain agrees, as Tom alluded to. It's important, or you cannot have a replacement player without the consent of the opposing captain. So yes, the opposing captain agrees. So now what happens? Player A will now not take part in this game anymore. Player B now replaced player A. So just in terms of stats, whatever runs player A scored will go towards his or her stats. Whatever runs player B now scores will go against his or her stats. So to answer your question about can player B bat in the same innings? Yes, player B can bat in the same innings. Player B has now replaced player A. So player A is now not part of the game anymore. So player B can now bat in the same innings. And how is these runs scored? These runs will now not be player A's runs for statistic purposes and for the match purposes. Excuse me. Player A will retain his or her runs. Let's say player A scored 10 runs and now it's now been replaced. Player B will now bat instead of player A, and all those runs accrued to player B will now go against his or her stats, as well as the stats for this game. And yes, with regards to the question about 12 batters has now batted. So yeah, technically you can say 12 batters has batted, but player A was replaced. So player B is now replacing player A. So technically you can say that yes, 12 has batted, but 11 is still has still batted. You won't have now 12 players because player A is now out of the game. He's now not part anymore, and player B will now take his or her part. Tom, did I answer all the questions?
Yes, I think you did, Tula, expertly. Thank you very much for that. Next question is from Tonya T. I'll take this one. How can we download the Cricket South Africa Level 1 course presentation to read at our leisure? Tonya T, at the bottom of all the emails that I sent, there is a button to click on. It says CSA Level 1.ppt. Click on that. It will open up a WeTransfer download link. And when you click on the WeTransfer download link, it will download a file that is about 650 megabytes big. So I'm not sure if it's able to download on a phone. It should be able to download on a tablet. It will definitely be able to download on a computer. And of course, you will need Microsoft PowerPoint or Google Sheets or Google Slides to open that presentation. Right. Let me go back. My just moved to the bottom of all the questions now. I need to scroll back to where we were. Just give me a second. Question from Ruben K. I'll give this one to you, Abdullah. If a batter batted in the first innings and had left the ground for personal work while the team is fielding, are we allowed a substitute fielder, or the fielding team plays with only 10 players?
According to the laws of cricket, you are allowed a substitute in 3 circumstances. If a player becomes injured, ill, or if there's a wholly acceptable reason for a substitute player to be allowed. So sometimes you'll find in lots of playing conditions across the world, they do have conditions in place where they'll allow certain things or not. Like in the local playing conditions in Western Province Cricket Association, we do allow, if a player comes late, let's say due to work, we'll allow a substitute player for him or her. But to come back to your question, the Sorry, Tom, I just lost my thought process here. What was the question again?
It was whether a player can leave after batting, can leave at lunchtime to go and work. Are we allowing a substitute to field in his or her place?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So now that is where, if according to the umpires, this is a only acceptable reason that the player had to leave the field of play, and you will then allow a substitute. I'll use an example. I had a case many years ago. It was at club cricket, where one of the players was a medical doctor who was on call at the time. He left his phone with the scorers, and he said to the scorers, if my phone rings, please pick it up. It's definitely an emergency. You then need to call me, and I then need to leave the field of play. I need to go to attend to the emergency. It then happened. Midway through the game, phone rang, scorers called the doctor. Doctor then had to leave the field to go to attend the emergency. This was the only acceptable reason. We allowed a substitute player. The doctor then came back, I think, about 2 hours later. So in this case, if there was a player had to go work, if according to you, this is a wholly acceptable reason, you'll allow the substitute to field in place of this player. And if the player comes back later, the substitute can then leave and the player can return to whether it's fielding or batting. Over, Tom.
Perfect. Thanks, Dula. Next question is from CC from Uganda. I forgot to mention that Uganda is in the house. Welcome all of you from Uganda. This might need clarification, Abdullah. I can't quite understand the question. Is there a unique name to the gadget that determines balls to be played prior to a game? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. When I heard gadget, I'm thinking ball gauge. But then I also heard balls to be determined prior to the game. So then now that threw me off. So yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
we
so
need
maybe
clarification. So
maybe you can just talk us through the picking of balls. Who does that? Who supervises that? And give our one-day domestic cup competition as an example, please, Dula.
Yes, Tom. So in the Cricket South Africa domestic one-day competition, which is 50 overs per side, there are 3 umpires appointed to the game. If it is a non-televised game, if it was a televised game, 4 umpires would have been appointed. Let's use the example of a non-televised game where 3 umpires are appointed, 2 on field, and there is the reserve umpire. So part of the reserve umpire's duties is, so before the game starts, so what usually happens, there will be a box of new balls. The reserve umpire needs to check the box of new balls, whether it is the correct brand and the correct weight, and whether it's for the men's or women's game. Also, there's a box of spare balls. The reserve umpire also needs to check the spare balls. But to come back to the new balls. So before the game starts, so what happens? There will be a toss. Let's say side A wins the toss and side A decides to bowl first. The reserve umpire will then go with the box of new balls to the now fielding side, the side that is going to field first. And in our 50 over competition at provincial level, we use 2 balls per innings. The reserve umpire will then take the box of new balls to one of the bowlers. We usually go to the opening bowlers. And let's say it's Kagiso Rabada. We'll go to Kagiso Rabada and we'll ask Kagiso to choose 2 balls from the new box of balls. After Kagiso's chosen balls, we will then in turn go to the with side B, and we will ask the opening bowler of side B to choose 2 new balls from the box of balls. Over, Tom.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Dula. Next question is from Isaac. I'll give it to you as well, please, Dula. When the ball hits the hand of the glove not holding the bat, is it out court?
Isaac, the answer to your question is no, not out court. The ball must make contact with either the hand or the glove holding the bat that is still on the bat. If that is the case and the ball, let's say, goes to first slip or the keeper and the catch is fairly taken, yes, then the batter will be out. But your question refers to ball making contact with the glove that's not, was the question not holding the bat, Tom?
Not holding the bat, yeah.
Yeah, so your question is hit the glove, not holding the bat. So in that case, not out. Why not out? The hand not holding the bat is seen as part of the batter's person. Similarly to if a ball, let's say, strike the shoulder or the pad or the stomach and it ricochets to first slip, will you give the batter out? No, you won't give the batter out. It's part of the person. So hand not holding the bat, ball hits it, seen as part of the batter's person. And in that case, not out. Can only be out if it hits the hand that's holding the bat. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Next question, a little bit trickier now, from Helvin. If the batter is wearing an arm guard and the arm guard is touching the glove which is holding the bat, and the ball hits the arm guard and is caught, would that be out or not out? Dula?
Alvin, that would be not out. And the reason is the arm guard is not seen as an extension of the glove. For the batter to be given out, the ball needs to actually hit the glove of the hand holding the bat. It needs to hit the glove. Yes, in your example, the arm guard is touching the glove, but the ball touched or hit the arm guard and not the glove. And the arm guard is not an extension of the glove. So in your example, not out. For this to be out, the ball must hit the glove and that glove must be holding the bat. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. I think good umpiring practice there would be to tell the batter to move the arm guard off the glove, because in a way it's an unfair advantage for him or her to cover the glove with the arm guard. Gift from Malawi is also in the house. Good evening, Malawi. Thanks for joining us. I know that Osman has invited a few umpires from Malawi. Apologies for not acknowledging you earlier. Welcome and enjoy the course. Odang asks if we can have the PDF of the session. Odang, as you've noticed, there are quite a lot of videos in our presentation, so we cannot change the presentation into a PDF because then the videos would be missing. So I have got a link to download the full presentation, which we're using for the 6 lectures. It's on the emails that I've sent right at the bottom. Please download the presentation. We've also got visitors from Jamaica. Great to hear and see you, Michael, and anyone else from Jamaica. Pakistan is also represented by Murad Qureshi and a few others, I believe. Right. What else do we have here? Nick says the links for course material and the laws of cricket PDF would not load for me in the first email. Yes, Nick, that's correct. The first email was sent out on the 13th of November, and those links have expired. Please use the latest email that I've sent to you. Those links are valid for a week. Okay, so you always try and download from the latest email that I've sent to you. There's a few more email addresses that I will be sending emails to after this course, after this lecture this evening. Right, moving on, let's see if there are any more questions. Giotti asks, what is our YouTube channel ID? Abdullah, if you could please go to our YouTube page and then copy and paste the channel website address into the chat box, please. It is Tom81CPT, but I'm not sure what you need to type before and after that. Deepak from India asks, if I have cleared this exam, shall I get posted on umpiring anywhere or only in South Africa? Deepak, as mentioned, the Cricket South Africa Level 1 umpiring qualification is recognized throughout Africa. So no problems to umpire anywhere in Africa with this qualification. In India, you still need to write an entrance exam with your state umpiring panel. That's if they need umpires. It's very full. There's a long waiting list in most of the states for umpires in India. But you could do what Datram did. He did his level 1 with us online from India. Then he came to South Africa, umpired a few club matches and school matches in South Africa. And the experience that he gained here in South Africa helped him jump the queue, and he is now a state panel umpire in India. The rest of the world, UAE recognizes our qualifications. The Netherlands recognizes our qualifications, and we are busy working with the West Indies to recognize our qualifications. In the US, definitely our qualifications are recognized, and we have a few candidates from the US here and a few in the past who have done our courses. And I know that we have an umpire from the US who's coming over for exchange either later this season or next season. So we are trying to spread our wings and the gospel of cricket, and all are welcome to Cape Town to umpire on exchange once you have a CSA umpiring qualification. Andres says that he is already 45 years old. Will that affect him taking the course? No, Andres, you can take level 1, level 2, level 3 with us as long as you want, and as late as you want, and as old as you want. And you can umpire club cricket for as long as your eyesight and your hearing will allow you to do so. The restriction on age is for progression through Cricket South Africa's umpiring ladder. If by 42 you have not been invited to Kaya Majola Boys Under 19 week, then unfortunately you're not going to umpire at a higher level than club cricket. But club cricket, there are no age restrictions. Rensha asks, where can she get the law book? Rensha, there is a PDF that I've sent to all of you on a link in my emails at the bottom underneath the presentation link. It says lawsofcricket.pdf. Click on that and you can open it on your phone, tablet, or computer. The book itself, I know you're a scorer here in Cape Town. I can give it to you when I next see you. It is not for sale anywhere in the world. It is given to umpires through associations around the world. Adam asks, can a person who passes level 1 buy his or her clothing for themselves? Adam, it's not that straightforward. When you pass level 1, you need to join Western Province Cricket Umpires Association or the Umpires Association closest to you. And only after you've umpired 3 matches wearing your own clothing, a white shirt with no team branding, a hat with no team branding, and black pants, only then will Western Province Cricket Umpires Association issue you with WPCUA clothing. Why? Because we have had over the years people joining the association, buying clothing, and then never to be seen again. And umpiring for school or other matches, which WPCUA are not involved in, but they wearing our uniform. You can imagine the problems that brings about, because if they make mistakes, they see the badge and people call us to complain about this umpire's officiating, and the umpire, even though he or she is wearing our clothing, wasn't appointed to that match by WPCUA. So that is why you have to umpire 3 matches with us first before you get clothing from us. I'm not sure how it works in other associations. You'll need to find that out. Once you've passed, I will give you all details of the Umpires Association closest to you anywhere around the world. Manish asks, I am from India. If I clear the exam, shall I get posted on umpire anywhere? Is that certification valid in India? I think I've covered that previously, mentioning Datram as an example. Patmata asks, as a level 1 umpire, what are the laws that you need to practice in a T20 format? Patmata, as mentioned, there are 42 laws in the game of cricket. The first 40 are examined in Cricket South Africa's level 1 exam. But for you to umpire in any competition with Western Province Cricket Umpires Association, you will need to also write a refresher test on the playing conditions of that particular tournament that you want to umpire. Not difficult, open book, 20 questions, just for us to know that you know the playing conditions of the tournament you're going to umpire in. Okay. Hope that answers your question. Julian Thompson, our former vice president of WPCUA, says, I could display the Western Province Cricket Association Code of Conduct in our next session. Jules, it's not really part of the course. Level 1 does not cover Law 42, which is player conduct. So for purposes of time, I think we will skip that. Next point or question is from Shah. Shah asks, if ball after playing shot by a batter becomes split into 2 parts. Abdullah, here we go again from the previous course. One was caught by the fielder, other crosses the boundary. Then what will that be? And please, ladies and gents, can we stick to scenarios that actually have happened on the field? Otherwise, we could be here all night theorizing unlikely scenarios. But Abdullah, you want to tell us how you would handle that particular scenario?
Tom, in our previous course, we had the International Cricket Council, or one of the international umpires on it. He was actually our poster boy, Langton Rosiere. And he actually gave us his expert views on exactly how to handle this. And according to him, if a ball should split in two, he would actually call and signal dead ball. He feels that ball is now split in two, is not fair anymore. So in this instance, what do? Do you give the batter out, but the other half is across the boundary? So he felt call and signal dead ball if the ball should split in two. He said that there's nothing in the laws or no in any playing conditions that actually covers this particular scenario. So he just felt fair to both sides, call and signal dead ball. I'm happy to go and I agree with him, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. I also definitely would call and signal dead ball. Right. Just a note from Nitin. This is not the ICC Elite Panel umpire. Nitin is a Mumbai Cricket Association Level 1 umpire, but I'm sure he's striving to get onto the ICC Elite Panel like his namesake. So all the best to you, Nitin. Right, so following on from that retired hurt question, Nicholas asks, I presume that player A would be retired hurt. Would player B only be able to step in for the second innings, or can he bat in the first innings with the consent from the opposing captain, Abdullah?
So Nick, as soon as player A is replaced, he is no longer, or he or she is no longer part of the game. Player B has now replaced player A. Player B is now taken full responsibility in this game. Player B can now bat, bowl, field. So to answer your question, when player B only allowed to bat, player B can bat in the first innings. If player A was replaced in the first innings, let's say player A got hurt midway through the first innings and was then replaced, player B can bat in the first innings. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Andres asks, can a batter be caught out over the boundary rope? Andres, that is covered in detail in Law 19 boundaries. We have a few videos that will explain your question in detail. Adam asks, can player A field and then can player B bat if the opposing captain agrees? A lot of questions on substitutes and replacements here today, Dula.
Yes, Tom. So I just need to confirm that my interpretation of the question is correct. So is he saying, so player A fielded, did player B replace player A, or what is he asking, Tom? I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, Adam, if maybe you can raise your hand and we'll get to you to give us the full scenario after we've gone through the chat box, just so we can answer your question clearly. Ruben K, is there any rule that the batter batted in the first innings must field at least one over during the second innings, or he can be allowed to sit out with a substitute fielding for him in the entire second innings? Abdullah?
So Ruben, all the umpires needs to satisfy themselves is when allowing a substitute player, is the player injured, ill, or is there only a acceptable reason? Let's use in your example, batter became injured. So if the umpires are satisfied that the batter became injured, the umpires will then allow a substitute to field in place of this now injured player. And no, there's no need for a this fielder to at least field one over. As long as the umpires are satisfied that the player became injured or ill, they'll allow a substitute, and the substitute can then be field throughout the second innings. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Adam, I want to interrupt your cigarette there. I see you've got your hand up. Do you want to clarify your question about player A fielding and then player B batting for them?
Yes, man, about Tom. We played a game. I injured my knee, but then our captain asked the opposing captain if we can put the 12 men into field and I can bat. Is that permissible, or that's all I wanted to find out?
Okay, so you injured your knee while you were fielding in the first innings. You went off.
No. Before the game started, I had an injury already of a previous game. So what the captain did is he asked the opposing captain, the player is here, but he's injured, but he can't bend too much. So we asked if the 12 men can just field and if we can bat, if that's possible.
Abdullah, you are the umpire in that scenario. What would you allow? What would you ask the opposing captain? Let's see what Adam's batting situation is, please.
I'm surprised that the opposing captain allowed this player coming into a game with an injury, and then he's only allowed to bat, and he's not going to. I'm surprised the opposing captain allowed it. But to answer your question, Adam, the laws of cricket now does not allow for this. The law only allows that, yes, it says a player can be replaced. So if a player became injured or ill and they need the player to be replaced, the law allows for that player to be replaced, but with the consent of the opposing captain. And once that captain is replaced, as once the player is replaced, that player will then take no longer part in this game. The replacement player will then take full part in this game. So that is the only thing that the law allows when it comes to replacement players. Tom, did I answer the question?
Yeah, you did. Thank you, Abdullah. I'm very happy
now. Thank
Okay.
you. Good luck with that knee going forward, Adam.
Thanks.
Right, Adam, if you can just put your microphone on mute again while we go through the rest of the questions. Thank you. Ryan says the file is too big to open on Google Slides. That's correct. You need to download it first. You cannot try and open it from the link. You need to download it onto your phone, tablet, or computer, and then open it on Google Slides or Microsoft PowerPoint. Mozam asks, hi gents, the duration of the exam will be 90 minutes and we can try our luck 5 times. If we fail, may we know how many questions we have to answer in this exam. Mozam, there are 69 questions and you need to score 56 out of 69 to get the minimum pass mark of 80%. And if you pass on your first attempt or second or third or fourth, you won't get a subsequent attempt to try and improve your mark. Just note that you need to be aware of the time If after 90 minutes you still haven't finished the 69 questions, the system will stop you and it will only mark those questions that you answered. So if you answered less than 56 questions, then you definitely won't get 80%. Those questions that you haven't answered, they will be automatically marked as incorrect. I take about 30 minutes to get through those 69 questions because I am I've done it many times and I know all the questions. If you're doing it for the first time and you know your content, you should be able to finish it in 60 minutes. If you've got slow internet and if you're checking your law book or the presentation to help you answer the questions, that is allowed. But then you run the risk of going over time. So just be careful when you do the exam to keep an eye on the clock. Right, Tonye is downloading the presentation as we speak. That's great. He found the link and it works perfectly if it is the email received either today or yesterday. Older emails, older than Sunday, those links have expired. So please use either yesterday's email or today's email to download material. Nicholas says, apologies if you resent the email with the course material. My email was not included. So Nick, I will copy and paste your email address and I will send you the latest email for you to download your course material. So we've got through all our questions and comments in the chat box. Now we're going to go on to hands up in the room. First and only hand up at the moment, Kwebo Kadushe. I think is the brother of a former first-class player and now coach, Mbasa Kadushe. Kwebo, the floor is yours. Please unmute your microphone. Good evening. Kwebo, are you still with us? Please unmute your microphone.
I'm here. Good evening, Tom, and good evening to the attendees. I hope you guys can hear me properly.
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, Basa is my brother. Well, the question I have, I think it was Abdullah was presenting when the 5 penalty runs for the batting team and for the fielding team. Can you just give us a few scenarios or an example of when would an umpire indicate a 5 penalty runs for the fielding team and for the batting team?
Excellent question, Kwebo. Abdullah, I'm going to throw that one to you, please. Thank you. If the rest of the candidates can please put themselves on mute.
It looks like it's Adong Ines. Can you please mute that person, Tom?
Okay, I will do.
Table. Let me start by penalty runs. Penalty runs to the batting side. Famous one is helmet behind the wicketkeeper. A fielder's helmet behind the wicketkeeper. If the ball was still in
Sorry, Abdullah. I had to mute everyone, including you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was. Yeah, no problem, Tom. I'll start over. So, Cable, thanks for your question. Let me start by giving you 1 or 2 examples of penalty runs for the batting side. Popular one is the fielder's helmet that was placed behind the wicketkeeper. So while the ball's still in play, the ball then strikes the helmet that was placed by the fielding side behind the keeper. So now the ball strikes the helmet. Upon striking the helmet, and we will go through this in later laws, the ball immediately becomes dead. 5 penalty runs will then need to be given to the batting side. You then need to signal that to the scorers. And how do you signal it to the scorers? The 5 penalty runs to the batting side is by placing your hand, I'm right-handed, on the opposite side shoulder, and by tapping. If the scorer sees the tapping hand opposite shoulder, the tapping signal, they know that that is 5 penalty runs to the fielding side. It is a bit dark here by me. It's currently load shedding in the area that I'm in. I'm not sure why we weren't supposed to have load shedding in my area, but we currently do have. So sorry for a bit of darkness in the background. So yeah, that is a popular where you give 5 penalty runs to the batting side. I'm not going to go through many instances, but that is just one example of and there are many others, things like illegal fielding, players returning without permission. We're going to go through these laws in where you'll see when the penalty runs need to be given to the batting side. So that's one example. When are penalty runs given to the fielding side? This is when the batters transgress. An example of this, batters are not allowed to run in the protected area. So if they do run in the protected area, you will first give them a first and final warning. If they then do it again, you will now give 5 penalty runs to the fielding side. So how do you signal 5 penalty runs to the fielding side? By placing your opposite hand on the shoulder and keeping it still. Whereas batting, you'll move it by tapping. For the fielding side, you will just put your hand, place it on the opposite shoulder, and keep it still. So that is one example of how penalty runs are given to the fielding side, and I've given you an example of penalty runs to the batting side. And as we go through the course, we'll go through the laws, and you will then see we will go through instances where we will give penalty runs to fielding and penalty runs to batting side. Tebo, did I answer your question? Are you happy?
Yes, Mr. Abdullah. Yes, you did. Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dulat. Thanks, Tebo. Regards to Mbasa when you see him. Next hand up is Sundaram. Sundaram, please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Thanks, Abdullah, for today. So my question was, do you recognize other umpiring certifications as qualifications that one might have to umpire in SA, South Africa, or as part of the exchange program that you mentioned?
Yes, Sundaram, we do. Any cricket playing nation that has got a cricket umpiring qualification, we do recognize. You would just need to send us that certificate as a proof of your qualification, and it needs to be more recent than 2017. Why? Because in 2017 there were huge law changes. So qualifications achieved before 2017 are outdated and need to be refreshed by a more recent qualification, either in your country or with us, Cricket South Africa qualifications.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Yes, apologies for missing your question. Salim asks if Singapore recognizes Cricket South Africa's level 1 umpiring qualification. Salim, I am in contact currently with Sarika, who is ICC umpire master educator for Asia. He's based in Singapore. I think he probably actually gave you the links for this course. I am sure that after some discussions between him and I, Singapore will recognize the qualification. He would not have asked or encouraged his umpires to do this qualification if they didn't recognize it. So I can say with 99% confidence that they do. We just don't have it in writing as yet. Right. Anesi has sorted out his sound issues. Nitin would like to thank us and send us blessings for the course. Thank you, Nitin. And Ryan looks forward to the second session on Wednesday. And Irina also thanking us for the session. Another question or comment from Ruben. I had followed your precious course videos. In that, I'd gone through a question regarding the bat not holding the hand. Throwing the bat towards the ball was recorded as dead ball, but whether that ball would count or need to be re-bowled. Dula, do you remember what we came up with? If a bat slips out of the hand or is thrown at a ball, we would call dead ball.
Yes, the ICC guided us by saying, yes, you need to call and signal dead ball. And yes, the ball will count as one for the over. Does not have to be rebuilt.
Correct. That's because the batter had an opportunity to play at the ball. Next hand up is Shah. Shah, please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Hi, Tom and Abdullah. My question is that if a fielder throw the ball to the wicket, ball like it was situation in the World Cup, England versus New Zealand. In the last scenario, the ball was hit by the batter's bat and was gone to the boundary. In this scenario, what will we do? A dead ball call or will allow the batter to run?
Abdullah, the question is about Ben Stokes in the World Cup final 2019. The ball thrown and hitting the bat and the ball going towards the boundary. What do we as umpires do? Do we call dead ball or do we let play carry on?
Tom, that is covered in the laws of cricket. It's covered under the overthrow law. And the overthrow law tells us that if a ball thrown and it goes to the boundary will count. Also, runs completed will count, including the run if they've crossed at the instant of the throw. So I'm not sure about the scenario, but in the if I can use the Ben Stokes scenario in the previous 50 over World Cup, England versus New Zealand. So the ball hit Stokes' bat, ricocheted off the bat, and went over the boundary. So law tell us, the overthrow law tell us that yes, the boundary will count. So now we need to also check if any runs were completed. So yes, one run was completed, and yes, so that one run will count. Now we also need to check this run that they were busy with. So they were busy with the second run. So at the instant of the throw, when is the instant of the throw? The moment the fielder picked up the ball and threw the ball. So at the instant of that throw, now you need to judge whether the batters crossed or not. If yes, they crossed at the instant of the throw, that second run will count. If they did not cross at the instant of the throw, the second run will not count. So in the Ben Stokes scenario, at the instant of the throw, the batters did not cross. So because they did not cross at the instant of the throw, their runs allowed was the 4 for the boundary and the 1 run they completed. So in total, 5 runs should have been allowed. But the umpires made a mistake. They allowed for that second run to count as well, and they gave 6 towards the score. So it should have actually only been 5 runs, 4 for the boundary, 1 for the completed run. And because they didn't cross at the instant of the throw, that's why that second run should not have counted. Did I answer his question, Tom?
Yes, you did. And I think what's important there as well is that Adil Rashid should have faced the next ball, not Ben Stokes. So it could have been a huge difference in the end of that match. Shah, you've still got your hand up. Are you happy with the answer?
Sir, I don't understand.